Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for another video. We've just finished our last series, which was building our Roundhouse and Machine Shop Kit Bash. And we've got that all done, and now we're down in the layout room, and we're getting ready to install that into the layout. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at what we got going on. Okay, so here we are. This is the whole thing installed. The turntable is in. The Roundhouse is all installed. I do have the lights working. I'm not going to turn them on now. These are the rest of the tracks. I've trimmed all these back. These right here are tracks that are going to end up being installed. These are going to be more storage tracks. I haven't placed them in yet. They're just roughly in there. This is the approach track to go off to the train yard over here. And then this side over here, this is going to be another approach track to the one that backs up around the Roundhouse. And I still have the orientation paper in here. And as you can see, this dark gray area is the no track area, which ends up right between the sets of tracks on the Roundhouse. So there we go. These are the spacers that I put in, that the instructions specified for, I think it's an inch and 15/16. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, this is the distance I needed. So the next thing to do would be to glue these tracks down onto the edge of the turntable like this, and that connects everything. And I still have yet to put feeders onto these wires here. I'm not going to do the feeders online. I mean, on a video. Only it's a simple thing to do. It's not hard to figure out. All I'm going to do is solder. I have 22 gauge wire. I'm just going to solder it to the outsides of each one of these. I use red and white. You can use whatever colors you like. I believe white goes on this side, red goes on this side in my layout. And I'm just going to follow through on all of these. And then I'll also install all of these tracks. These tracks will get laid down the same process I did all the rest of the tracks in my layout here, all of these tracks with the caulk, and then set down in. This one, same thing. So that all gets done normally. If you want to know how I do that, just look back on some of my other videos and you'll see how I've done that. But what I want to talk about in this video is I want to make all of this area here paved, and I want to do a road that goes down here and fills in the back, and I want to do a parking lot sort of area all up in here. And I was kind of looking at different ways to get a tarred effect or an asphalt look, and then so I think I came up with something pretty good. And why don't we go upstairs to the workbench, and I'll give you an idea of what I'm going to be doing. All right, so here we are in the workshop. I'm not in the workshop, we're at my desk. And let's take a look at what's going to happen for that whole paved area. So I made this. This is just something I was trying to mess around with to see how things were going to look. So what I did was I took some old pieces of track, like you can see right here, okay, and I glued them to a piece of hardboard. And then I made a template, I made a form all the way around. And I divided into three, I did 3 sections because I was going to mess with another section as concrete. Okay, so I could mess with colors. And turns out I think I'm going to go with paved. So here's what I did. This section right here is just joint compound. Okay, it's just straight joint compound right out of the can. I divided it up. As a matter of fact, here are the pieces that I cut off of it. So these would go right in here and glue into place. I've got compound on there, but these go in here, and I made forms all the way around. And then I filled it with compound. Let me give you a look at what I used for that. Okay, so what I have for that is just this. It's just general purpose joint compound for sheetrock. I have a quart can of it, and that's all it is. So what I did was I after I had the tracks in here, I took a putty knife. I have a wide putty knife that stretches across this, and I just filled it right to the top. Now, if you've never worked with this stuff before, it does shrink. This is one coat, and you can see it's fairly thick, okay? But it does shrink. This was actually higher when I put it in there, and it shrank down. It covered over the tops of the rails, but now you can see how the rails and the ties show here. You can feel the bumps from there. So this, obviously, it needs another coat. But the fact that it's white says that now I gotta paint it. And I really wanted to get away from that, because if I put this on there and it's white and then I paint it, and then if there's any kind of an issue with it and I have to sand anything or drill a hole in it or anything like that, white's gonna come out of it because the paint's only on the surface. So then I started thinking, and I took this second section here and I just put I took out a bunch and put it on a mixing board, and I added some black acrylic paint. It's the cheap stuff you would find at like Walmart in their arts and crafts department. Comes in a big tube, squeeze tube, and I squeezed a bunch in there and mixed it all up, and this is what it did, and I'm kind of happy with that. This is obviously, it's 2 coats, and I've sanded it smooth after it was done, but you can see the rails are there. And then when it was about, I would say 3/4 dry, I took a hobby knife and I cut the grooves right along the rails here on all of these, and then I let it dry up, sanded it some more, and you'll notice the variation in colors. This is done in the paint as well, because the second coat I didn't mix exactly the same as the first coat, so it was a little bit different, and it gave me a little variation, which I really like. And this is how I'm going to do the rest of the that whole parking area, paved area around the Roundhouse. And then the other thing I did, just to make sure that my trains will fit, is I made this. I don't know if it's any good for anything, but I kind of liked it for running over the top of this stuff. All it is I had a loose truck left over from something I was doing. It doesn't go to anything, and I had some extra wheel sets. Now these are large flange wheel sets, so they bump on the railroad ties, because they're the pizza cutter ones, and the flanges are way too big. But they work good for this, because I know they're reaching down to the ties. And then I took a piece of wood dowel and I just screwed it in there, and I cut off the coupler that goes on the front. And I just use this instead of taking my train cars and running them on here. And then I can just run this back and forth to make sure that my grooves are cleaned out. And I just run that back and forth, and it works perfectly. Just a little thing for you if you're thinking of doing something. So that's it. That's what I'm going to do, and I'd rather show you here on a video up on my desk than down there, because there's really not a lot of room to get the camera in, and it's much easier if I can do that down there without having to worry about camera angles and things. So I'm showing you here. Now all I did, like I said, I had all I did was I took the lid of, so I took something like this. This is the lid off of a dishwasher detergent pack container. I took that and I scooped out a bunch of this into here, squirt some black paint on top, and this, with the putty knife, you mix it up really well and then spread it in there. Now I will say, if you're gonna do this, it takes a while to dry. That's the only bad part. This has been drying for probably 2 or 3 days now, and I think it's pretty well done. It's hard. We don't have to worry about it. Now I know there are other ways to do this. I've tried cork, I've used that on one of my areas. Some people will take styrene and cut it to fit between the rails. I don't have the patience to be able to cut that in there to fit exactly up to the rails and get the exact distance in between. I don't have that kind of patience. Not to mention, when you're talking about the rails that go into the roundhouse, they're cut at an angle, and I just don't want to deal with it. This is much easier. And I've done this also with some of my road crossings. Used the joint compound on those. And it works well. It's easy to work with. When it's dry, it sands easily. There's really no issues that I can find with it. So anyway, that's what we're doing for this week. I'm going to start working on that in the next couple days, getting that all thrown down. I have to get obviously all my feeders in. I'm not going to do a video for it. If you want to see that, I believe I have other videos up for how I do those. If you were looking for a video last week and didn't happen to catch one, well, that's because I didn't put one up. If you subscribe to my website, you would have seen that I put up, probably about 20 pictures of the roundhouse and machine shop completed on the layout. Put those up on my website last Friday. So if you haven't seen them, please go to my website. It's mikestrains.wordpress.com and check them out. Tell me what you think. If you haven't subscribed over there, please do. If you subscribe over there, you'll get an email update anytime I upload pictures to my website. And there's also things over there. I work on my father's HO scale layout as well, so periodically I put things up there for that I'm working on. So if you haven't been there and you haven't subscribed, please do. And as I say before, if you don't see videos showing up here on YouTube, then just go right over there and see what's going on, because there's always something. I never miss a week putting content up, either there or here on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed here on YouTube, shame on you. Please do subscribe now. Love to have you. Always looking for new subscribers. If there's anything you want to know, feel free to message me, through YouTube, or my website has a comments area as well if you're looking. I try to answer everything as quick as I can get them. So all that being said, I think that's going to be it for this week. So thanks for watching and happy modeling.